Welcome to Meteor Interviews, a series of interviews with Meteor developers. My name is Paul Dowman. This podcast is produced by OKGrow. We build web and mobile apps for clients using Meteor. You can find us at okgrow.com. Today I'm speaking with Zoltan Olah. Zol is one of the founders of Percolate Studio, which was acquired on Friday by the Meteor Development Group. So he's now leading the new services group at MDG. Welcome, Zol.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul.
My goal is to learn about the acquisition and MDG's new service offering, and maybe talk about some other things like Atmosphere along the way too. So you guys were probably among the very first Meteor developers that were building real commercial products. You built Meteorite and Atmosphere, so I guess you were there before third-party packages even existed. You guys were there long before I was using Meteor. So how did you come to start using Meteor so early?
That's an interesting question, actually. We sort of found out about Meteor both through one of the founders, Dominic's personal connection to Matt through a friend of his. So he actually got to meet Matt, and Matt was telling him about the framework. And at the same time, Tom and myself was sort of learning about it through the engineering community. And that's pretty much how we sort of first found out about what they were trying to do.
Right. And you guys are actually in San Francisco, despite being Australian.
Yeah, so I am in San Francisco, as is Dominic, and Tom Coleman, the third partner, is out in Melbourne.
All right, cool. So how big is Percolate, or was?
Percolate is 4 people, 4 engineers, well, including Dominic, who's a designer, and 3 of us are partners. Tim is the 4th member. He's also out in Australia. And
what type of customers do you guys have? I feel like I should be saying do or did. I'm sure you're still wrapping things up. So what type of people did Percolate work with?
We worked with customers really ranging the entire spectrum, from the smallest startups to more medium-sized organizations to large multinationals. So at the larger end of the scale, our biggest badge, I guess, is Apple, who we worked with, and then medium scale, we're currently finishing up a project with a company called Credo, and they provide cell phone and credit card services here in the US. Then they take a percentage of their earnings and actually distribute them to charities. So they're more sort of mid-scale customer. And then at the smaller end, I would highlight Meeting Hero, who contacted us to build their MVP, and now they're a YC-funded startup.
Cool. So you did have a bit of experience with enterprise customers.
Yep.
I imagine you'll be doing a lot more of that. So now you guys are joining the Meteor Development Group. As a founder of a development shop myself, like I can imagine what that's like. Super exciting. Imagine you have some mixed feelings. You give up a bit of freedom, but now you have a boss. But you're leading the new services group, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So is it called the Meteor Developer Subscription? That's like the official name for the it sounds like a bit of a productized consulting offering. So can you tell me a bit about what it is?
That's right. So the developer subscription is something very new. As you know, we've just launched this, and we're just sort of, really in the early stages of figuring out exactly what this is going to look like. Where we want to go with this is, when thinking of Meteor as a platform, and amongst many a technology choice to build your product or your company on, really this is to give you a beautiful sort of commercial support model that is lacking in most other open source web frameworks. So with that, you're looking at getting access to tier 1 technical support from the folks of the framework, and you get that at a guaranteed response rate. And you also get things like architectural reviews, and you get a chance to sort of run your larger architectural decisions through people that work at the company and build the framework, which is actually, in our consulting life, like as Percolate Studio, we had quite a few requests for this kind of service. So take a look at what we've built, let us know what you would do differently, that kind of thing.
Yep, same here. So how about the pricing and terms? It sounds like it's an annual subscription.
It's an annual subscription, that's right. And I think the pricing is still sort of yet to be determined. I think we're still working with the initial set of subscribers to figure that out.
I assume it's aimed at larger companies, at least sort of enterprise and funded startup type people. Do you think there's going to be just one tier, or like, will there be anything that's accessible to smaller developers?
To be honest, the price point for something like this is probably out of reach of smaller developers who are really looking to spend, maybe in the order of, 50 to a few $100s, which at that price point you can really only support a self-service type of model, which is not what this is.
Of course, there's forums and all the Stack Overflow and all the public places that exist.
That's right. That's right. And I should add that none of that is going away.
Yeah. It sounds like it's kind of a mix of consulting services plus support. And that's got me thinking that the Galaxy is launching soon. So this is kind of an interesting, or I don't know when it's launching, but it sounds like it's like you guys are gearing up for Galaxy. So it sounds like this is maybe like a mix of support for Galaxy versus just, like architectural questions and problems that you might have.
Well, I guess I should clarify that that the Meteor subscription will cover support for both Galaxy and apps hosted off of Galaxy. So it's not one or the other. It's not exclusive.
From my perspective, we talk to some enterprise customers from time to time, and there are definitely some objections currently about, I won't say like the stability or support of Meteor, but it's good to show them that there's more than just an open source project right now and some small development shops.
Exactly. And look, the goals are twofold. One is exactly that, to show people that, like, hey, you can invest a lot, your entire company in a lot of cases into using this technology, and it's not going to go away, and we are here to support you all the way. And I think that's a huge factor, and that is a benefit to the community when larger organizations come on board. It benefits all of us. And then the other factor is more sort of selfish, but ironically it benefits everyone too, in that we really want to learn and feed quickly back into the framework what the needs are of our customers.
Yeah, I think that is really interesting because, I know MDG does or I've heard you guys do like an app week from time to time, but nobody at MDG has been building large scale apps, and so I think this is a really good opportunity for you guys to learn what issues people are having, and obviously you at Percolate, like you bring a lot of that knowledge as well. There's just maybe things like common use cases that you might not have thought of, or like you'll start to hear what objections are, or it probably will even be able to influence the direction of new features and things like that.
And in a lot of cases, I guess some of those features won't be the type of front page sort of glory obvious sort of features that maybe we would have thought of in the past, but really stuff that keeps coming up in the trenches and is just as, if not more important, to have sorted out.
I'm just speculating here, but I don't know if like the folks on the core team have a really good handle on how important things like SQL support are, perhaps. Like I actually don't really know how important those particular things are to, say, enterprise customers or the type of people that would be paying to actually build a large project with Meteor. And I think it'll be really interesting to start to have some of those kinds of conversations, and maybe something like SQL support would move up the roadmap. Yeah,
that's very possible.
How do you think this changes the game for independent development shops? Like the smaller Meteor consultants and people like us at OK Grow, and the way you guys would have been recently at Percolate.
Mm-hmm. I think this grows the pie for everyone. Again, because if we can build more trust within the medium to large size client base, then that's effectively just great for all of the consulting shops that are out there. So we as Percolate, this is not set in stone, but it's likely that we won't be taking on larger sized projects at this point. We'll have our hands full running the Meteor Developer subscription. So straight away, there are potentially, these projects will potentially be going to other professional services companies. But in the future, that, as I said earlier, I think it really does grow the pie for everyone, because, Meteor are not and will never really be focused on building projects. And that is the meat and potatoes of agencies like yours and like ours was. is getting those larger, chunkier application projects.
We definitely like to do like technical type things, you know, architectural reviews, security, all those types of things, but it's definitely not the main thing that companies like OKGrow do. So I think that's good to hear that we're not going to be competing. And I think actually it's going to be really reassuring to a lot of our clients to say, like, perhaps we have a developer subscription, or we have this available for your project, or whatever, depending on how the pricing and terms work. Just being able to say people at MDG are available.
That's right. Ultimately, I think it's going to be a really great thing, and it will see more people adopt the platform, and especially in that sort of mid-range client base where, you know, you're starting to find sort of more cash for larger projects, you know, which is where your income will come from as an agency.
Yeah. And I think as far as like independent consultants and freelance developers are concerned, that's probably the same thing. Like they can say, rest assured that, you know, even though I'm just one developer, I can always escalate this with a bit of money if need be.
Exactly. Cool.
Those people are like, I think, the most active base of Meteor supporters so far. Like they've been the ones organizing meetups and you know, publishing lots of content and stuff. So I think it's good to keep those people feeling like they're not being competed with. But it sounds like that's your plan.
Absolutely. And, you know, further down the roadmap, we have ideas like certification programs, both for engineers and also for professional services companies as well. You know, similar to the kind of programs that we've seen in the enterprise. So bringing those type of standards and assurances to the open source web community.
Cool. What would that look like? Would that include education?
I think it's too early to say at this point, so I can't speculate, but you know, that is something that we've thought about too.
I'm interested in the SLA part of this. So SLA meaning service level agreement. What does that mean? So like you have a guarantee that you can get an answer in a certain amount of time?
That's a good question. Typically when we've done SLAs in the past as Percolate, they've been around the hosting side of things. So they've been crisis response. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the SLA part of the Meteor developer subscription, apart from the fact that you're guaranteed a response to your question via 1 business day. I think it says that on the website too.
You're right. I just looked up the page, and I think I was imagining that I read something about SLA. So right, it just says guaranteed response. You get an answer to an email within 1 business day. I was just thinking about the logistics of that, like what that actually means. So okay, so it just means there's no black hole. You can send a support request, and someone will at least acknowledge that there's a conversation beginning there.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Cool. So another thing that it talks about on the site is proactive alerts. So critical security updates, critical bug fixes. So it says MDG will proactively alert your designated contacts in the event of any critical security update or critical bug fix. So I'm interested in that. Like that seems like something that would be a public thing. I mean, this is not like if this is to everyone that's subscribed, this is not like a small private group that's like being alerted of like 0-day exploits or something. This is kind of semi-public, so that I'm just kind of curious to explore what that really means.
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess public is public, and that's how Meteor has always operated. When there's, you know, a security update or a critical fix that comes out, that information is made public as soon as it's appropriate. However, let's say you have a large client. Let's say it's it's Apple, for instance. As soon as you make an exploit public, there's obviously a huge race to both patch that exploit and to exploit that exploit. So it's not uncommon in the industry to have, you know, certain very mission critical sort of customers have slightly earlier access. You know, they get a leg up on that race. And I guess that's where these proactive alerts are coming from.
I guess there's kind of a fine balance that happens there, like depending on how small that group is, right? Because I mean, in a way that's public disclosure. And so you're not going to disclose something publicly to, I mean, a select group, but anybody who's subscribed to this, it seems like that's a little bit larger than like a private group.
So I guess the implication is that that folks who have a Meteor developer subscription have a very mission critical application. That's one of the main benefits that they get out of the subscription, is to have the peace of mind for their big mission critical application that is making them lots and lots of revenue, or they large companies run on it, to give them the assurances that someone has their back. I mean, that's what the developer subscription is about. So I personally don't see that as being unreasonable as packaging that as part of the developer subscription. We completely acknowledge that there are many people out there building non-mission critical or even smaller production apps that just don't have the resources to maybe have a Meteor developer subscription, and people like that are going to be no worse off than they are today. But in the case that their business grows, perhaps there's more money to spend on something like this, then that's one of the other benefits that they'll get.
I get it. Those will always be publicly available, but I do get that there's always like a small group of people that need to know. I guess just it's going to be an interesting thing for you guys as that group grows. Like initially, it'll probably be a few of the most large and mission critical apps, but I just wonder at some point when that becomes like a large list, then what happens?
There's always the conundrum though that if there's no sort of verification step in place, and I guess Meteor developer subscriptions at this point at least are still a one-on-one sort of contract and discussion between an organization. So they are essentially verified individuals. As soon as you remove that verification step, then you're back in the public realm, and I guess that's where we're coming from.
So for you, what changes day to day? Like you're now in the MDG headquarters. Are you working out of there as your daily office?
I am, yes. Dominic and I are here. Obviously, the other two guys will stay in Australia and work remotely. So I can't really answer to what's changed for me, because not much has changed yet. We're still working with our existing clients and kind of onboarding here at Meteor and learning about how things work here, and sort of figuring out the next steps in the Meteor developer subscription, and how we can sort of help the largest number of people, I guess, find success on the platform.
Cool. Well, I'm really interested in this. I'm looking forward to finding out about it for us as a company, and just about the details and how widely this gets adopted. And I think this feels like a really big turning point in the history of Meteor as well. So I think now there's an official path for support, and I think this just makes it more accessible to enterprise and big customers, and I like that we can escalate it as well. So awesome. Our community is growing up.
I'm very excited about the next year. I think it's going to be fantastic. Couldn't be happier.
Cool. So if anyone would like to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
So zol@meteor.com. Shoot me a line there, or through our contact form.
Cool. Yes. Meteor.com/services/subscription.
That's right.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Zol.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for listening. If you liked this show, you can subscribe using iTunes or your favorite podcast app. For more info, visit meteorinterviews.com. To learn more about OK Grow and the work we do, you can find us at okgrow.com.